I'm joined by analyst Jin Yoon from Nomura Securities. Welcome to you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So what do you make of these results?
You know, fantastic results all across the board. Top and bottom lines actually exceeded our expectations, as well as the street expectations. Really, the top line was really gained from their execution on Phoenix Nest. We believe that on the bottom line, on the margins line, certainly Google's departure had impacted the traffic acquisition cost. But really, the top line was driven by their conversion to Phoenix Nest, which is ramping up quite nicely in China.
Well, let's talk about that in a second. But do you think that most of this market share that it's picked up is down to Google's exit?
Well, we do believe that there are some residual benefits that Baidu has gained over the last 6 to 8 months. However, you know, Google's business in China was roughly about $400 million, which $300 million was roughly with Google.com. So the jump ball impact was about $100 million that essentially moved over to Baidu. With over $1 billion in revenues, $100 million is really not going to make a whole lot of difference.
Small. But what about now that Google's worked out an agreement with the Chinese government? Are we going to see any Baidu users return to Google?
You know, we still believe that Google.cn is shut down in China, but the reopening of the license or the maintenance of the license for Google keeps that door open. However, we don't believe that there's going to be a rush of internet users going back to Google CN, because Google CN essentially is still shut down, where that site right now is kind of a launch pad for the redirection to Google.hk.
Okay. Well, let's talk more about what you were referring to with the advertising. You know, one of the criticisms of Baidu is that it puts too much emphasis on this paid-for search results, and that's something that's damaged Yahoo. Right. And Phoenix is the way that it's dealing with this. Can you explain that for us?
Sure. What Phoenix Nest really does is it broadens your search mechanism.
Okay.
So if you're looking for flower shops, you don't not only have to look for flowers, but you could use other keywords, then your search will exactly come online. While there is a tendency to over-monetize, we think that we're still in the third inning of growth here for Baidu, and there's still quite a bit of ways to go in terms of growth. So we think that there's still market acceptance for this kind of advertisement. Second of all, the Chinese users is a little bit more accepting of search advertisement
because there's no competition.
There's no exactly. Exactly. And with that being said, you know, because Baidu's the only game in town, they're a little bit more, they have kind of created the culture in search where over-monetizing is a little bit more acceptable.
Let's talk about video, because that's just a huge area of growth. And Baidu's got a joint venture with a U.S. equity firm to put video online. Is that going to be successful?
Well, you know what? Across the board, whether it's China, U.S., or Japan, there's really not that many companies that actually made money on video. I think video will probably provide them the contextual ads that they need to grow. However, video is not going to be a very incrementally very profitable center or incrementally revenue generating. Across the board, any company across the world has not generated any revenues or significant amount of profits. Even YouTube is not profitable. So we don't think video is going to be very impactful, because of the fact that the scalability on video is just not there. It's not a scalable business where you can make incremental revenues or incremental ad sales, because the cost structure is so high on video. So we don't think that video is going to be very impactful.
They're expensive to buy and to have on your website. What about the stock? It's up nearly 80% so far this year at Baidu.com. Is there any upside left in it?
You know, we think that, again, we're in the very early stages of growth in search and Baidu in China.
The third of 9 innings?
The third of 9 innings, and we still think that there's quite a ways to go. You know, one of the things that we compared to was Google back in 2005, when they kind of switched over to a Phoenix Nest kind of business model, and that revenue's really, really ramped up for 3 years after that. Baidu's on that growth trajectory. We think there's tremendous growth ahead.
Jin Yoon from Nomura Securities, thank you so much for coming in.